Hey everybody, it is November 3rd, so we'll be looking at November 2nd's MTG stocks. I got back today from my Weeb convention, and so that's why we're a little bit late, like I said last video. But I kind of looked over the weekend, there wasn't really too many price changes, nothing too big in spikes. But for our top spike of the day, we have Boggart Shenanigans. It is a 2 colorless, 1 fire tribal enchantment goblin. Wherever another goblin you control is put into graveyard from play, you may have Boggart Shenanigans deal 1 damage to target player. So there's some other cards that are kind of like this. I think it fits with Goblin Tribal very well. So I think it's a neat card, and it's kind of nice that it's not too expensive still. I mean, it spiked up a little bit, but it's still like only $2 currently, unless it spikes up more for some reason. But this is back from the Lorwyn set. This was kind of a cool idea. So I don't think they've ever really explored this again. But basically it is just having the tribal enchantment goblin. So it's like there are things where it says your goblin spells cost 1 less to play. And so with this being a tribal enchantment goblin, that also includes this. So it's just a very neat mechanic, I thought, back in the days. I mean, the effect itself is good too, of course. Neat card. I still love that tribal enchantment. I wish we got a little bit more of that, but maybe in the future. I don't know if they'll ever really revisit Lorwyn. Let's see. Then now we have Edric, Spymaster of Trust. It is a 1 colorless, blue, green, legendary creature, elf rogue, 2/2. Whenever a creature deals combat damage to one of your opponents, its controller may draw a card. So, basically, as a commander, this is kind of a neat card because it plays a little bit of politics in the sense of people could attack you. But why attack you when you can attack an opponent or a different opponent and draw a card, basically? So this is kind of like, it's a neat card because it really does kind of put that pressure off of you a little bit. I mean, someone like, I'm sure this kind of deck is, the idea is to kind of build up and not get targeted. But if someone kind of sees what you're doing, because I'm sure on this one you're gonna probably want to get a lot of mana ramp, and then do some explosive spells later. But yeah, I do like this card. It is neat, and it also helps you, of course, because if your creature deals damage to an opponent, you also draw a card. And I believe this draws up to I believe it's so if like 3 creatures did damage, I think all 3 that would trigger 3 times, or it may be only per opponent. Not sure on that, but I think it's per creature. Yeah. Let's see here. We have Vivian Arc Bow Ranger. 1 colorless and 3 green, so a little bit pricey. From the M20 set, I believe this is just from the Planeswalker decks. So this one is a +1, distribute 2 +1/+1 counters among up to 2 target creatures. They gain trample until end of turn. Target creature control deals damage equal to its power to target creature or Planeswalker. That one's nice. This allows you to, especially in standard, but allows you to get like through either blockers that are really hard to get through, or you just really need to put damage on a Planeswalker. It seems nice, and the fact that it doesn't kill off Vivian if you need this like an immediate effect seems good. And then -5, you may choose a creature card you own from outside the game, reveal it, and put it into your hand. So these effects are kind of interesting. Whenever it says this, like in EDH, these cards basically don't work unless you get your group to approve it. But when it comes to like standard and modern, what this basically means is you can pull any card from your sideboard, and sideboard is just a 15 card, not just a 15 card, I guess, sideboard, the best definition for it. But that way you can change out your deck between playing people. So yeah, you basically just pull 1 card from there and put it into your hand. So this could be really versatile and useful Yeah, it's neat. I like those kind of effects that have that. I wish it worked in EDH. That'd be funny to have in EDH, but probably be a little bit dumb. There's probably something really dumb you could do with that in EDH. Yeah, not bad. Let's see. And then we have Life Matrix here. So this one, it's not a huge spike or anything, but I thought it was interesting. It's a 4 colorless artifact. You can pay 4 and tap it. During your upkeep, put 1 counter on target creature. You remove this counter at any time to regenerate that creature. So basically, it's just a regeneration counter. But I love this card just because it's this kind of goofy skeleton in the middle of an ocean with, I don't even know what's going on in this artwork, but I love like this old weird looking thing here, and it's pretty great. Gotta love those old arts sometimes. Let's see. I'll go to the next one here. I just kind of like, this is kind of another interesting set. So we have Sinbad, 1 colorless, 1 blue. Tap, draw a card. If it's not a land, discard a card or discard it, and it's a 1/1. And so I love that it just says summon Sinbad. It's not something you see nowadays. It's probably like legendary creature human, I would assume. They've put this on errata, but I think it's kind of neat that this was, I can only assume it was made in Arabian Nights. But I guess it was they reprinted it sometime else. But I just find it very interesting that they actually used like kind of our world stuff to make these cards. I always thought that was like an interesting concept, and they've kind of revisited that with Throne of Eldraine, but it's nothing like, it's not a huge like, hey, this is actually I don't think so. I don't remember any cards, but there hasn't been like a, this is Red Riding Hood. This is like, this is pretty much Red Riding Hood. This is just straight up, this is Sinbad. I love it. Also, this effect, by the way, I love it because whenever you have like those soul tie zombies, where basically you can try to put cards into your graveyard and then reanimate them or something, this seems like a really good card. Let's see here. And then for our kind of commander card of the day, we have Nekusar the Mindrazer. I made a deck with this guy recently, and I'm pretty excited about it. He's a 2 colorless Grixis, or blue, black, red, legendary creature, zombie wizard. He's a 2/4. At the beginning of each player's draw step, the player draws an additional card. So this applies to everybody, so all your opponents will draw an additional card, and you will too. So drawing 2 cards per turn, and then whenever an opponent draws a card, he deals 1 damage to that player. So basically, during each opponent's turn, they'll be drawing 2 cards and taking 2 damage. And then kind of the idea of this deck is, the way I've built it is trying to punish everybody, kind of including yourself, to do anything, like when it comes to, you know, typing mana or whatever. Not like it's not really a heavy control. It's just more like you're going to be penalized if you do anything, and that basically just kind of speeds up the game. That's kind of like what we would prefer. And then also, but the good side to the Nekusar deck is that you're going to be drawing a lot of cards. Everybody's going to be drawing a lot of cards. You may be taking a lot of damage, but that also lets you bring a lot of potential answers to the board, which is nice. So I kind of like the idea of this. I call it a group hug slug, and it just makes a lot of sense. And I hope it's got a lot of fun and not just annoying. That's what we like to play. Fun. See, go to the next card here, and this is kind of our random card that I like. I played this in my Spirit deck, and this is a very clutch card, or just a very good card to go. So he's Moyojin of the Seeing Winds. He's a 7 colorless and 3 blue card. So he costs 10 mana in total, and it's crazy. But for decent reasons, he is a legendary creature spirit from the Kamigawa set, which is one of my favorites. 3/3. And when he comes to play with a divinity counter on it, if you played it from your hand. So you do have to actually like play it from your hand, or I believe that, and play in this sense I think means cast. Pretty sure. So you pretty much have to cast this legitimately. Maybe. I'm not sure on that now. Let me know if that is a thing. You have to play it legitimately, or if you can use something like Through the Breach. But anyways, he's indestructible as long as it has a divinity counter on it, which is whatever. But remove that divinity counter from him, and you draw a card for each permanent you control. So by the time you get this thing out, you probably have at least 7 permanents, I'd say. And so when you put him out, you get draw 7 cards, which is crazy. Or if you get him out really late game, you're like, I'm just gonna draw 20 cards, and it's like, oh, he can really bring you back if you need. It's a very cool card, and I love it. Let's see here. And then to finish off the night, we're going to do a couple of random cards. Random card number 1, Dire Fleet Interloper. This is a cost 3 colorless and 1 black. Is a human pirate, 2/2 menace. When he enters the battlefield, it explores. Exploring mechanic, reveal the top card of your library. Put that card into your hand if it's a land. Otherwise, put a +1/+1 counter on this creature. And put that card back or put it into your graveyard. So basically, the Explorer mechanic is kind of interesting to me. It can be pretty decent for like a landfall deck or a +1/+1 counter deck. Basically, it lets you either get lands into your hand faster or just get +1/+1 counters out. The other good thing, I guess, is that if you're trying to do like a dredge deck, this also lets you dredge a little bit. It has a lot of like interesting mechanics in it in general, and I think it can help a lot of decks. You just have to be careful not to muddy up your deck. If you do an explore deck, I think you should make sure that, like for a dredge deck or something, or a graveyard deck, like only putting 1 card into your graveyard isn't amazing or not. But I think if you like focus this with the Surveil mechanics that came out in the Ravnica sets recently, where you're able to basically, because it's basically almost have the Surveil text, where Surveil is, instead of scrying where you put on the bottom of your deck, you put it into your graveyard if you want. So I think there's a lot of interesting things you could do with that, but you just have to make sure that you're not putting in quote unquote bad cards to just get the mechanic off. That's one of those dangerous things that can happen. Kind of like Madness, for instance, with Anji is if you're trying to play Madness cards just because you're like, yeah, Madness cards, all those Madness cards are bad. But with Anji, you still get to cycle through your deck very rapidly, so even if those cards are bad, it works for her. But if you're trying to actually use those cards for their Madness cost, that's something that you have to really cut down your Madness cards for, which kind of ruins the whole mechanic a little bit. But yeah, interesting mechanic. It's probably a well-known mechanic at this point, but I never was really into the Ixalan set that much, so I just wanted to kind of go over that. I'll do random card number 2. Sarah Inquisitors is a 4 colorless, 1 white human cleric here. So if assigned to block any black creatures, or any black creatures are assigned to block it, gets +2/+0 until end of turn. So nothing great. It's just basically it's +2 if it is in combat with a black creature. The artwork's kind of weird when you look at it, because I'm pretty sure Sarah Inquisitors here basically refers to like Sarah's Angel, which I'm not good on lore on this, but I assume that's some sort of god or planeswalker. I'm trying to think now, because I know that I'm thinking of like what planeswalkers there are. Oh gosh, because there's like Sarah's Angel, so I guess it is a god. Hopefully I'm not gonna get penalized for that. But yeah, it's kind of like weird because it looks like almost looks like they're astronauts or something weird, and they're just kind of like in space. I don't know. It's very weird, and like the heavy dark outlines here, like here, and kind of like on the cheeks and chin. I don't know. It's very kind of weird. I don't know about that, but it's interesting at least something. But anyways, hope you all enjoyed, and should be back on, see, it's November the 3rd, so it should be back on November the 5th, which will be Tuesday. So hope you all have a good one. I'll see you next time.